Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, praise be to God, and peace and blessings be upon the messenger of God, his family, his companions, and those who follow him. O God, there is nothing easy except what you make easy, and you make sorrow easy, and you make sorrow easy if you will, O God. Teach us what benefits us and benefit us with what you have taught us, and increase us in knowledge. O God, make all our deeds purely for your noble countenance, and do not let anyone else have any share in them. O Lord of the worlds, welcome, dear friends, may you be blessed, and may your steps be blessed, and may you be granted a place in paradise, we ask.
وهذا هو المجلس الخامس والخمسون من مجالس السيرة النبوية على صاحبها أفضل الصلاة والسلام.
God, the blessed and exalted, just as he has gathered us in obedience to him, to gather us in his paradise, the abode of his mercy and the home of his honor. This is the 5th session of the prophetic biography. Upon its owner be the best of prayers and peace. We ask God, the blessed and exalted, to make us among those who follow our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And truly what I missed in the previous session was mentioning with thanks, appreciation, and support the fatwa of our scholars in the International Union of Muslim Scholars regarding the obligation of jihad upon Muslim states and peoples, and the obligation to support the people of Palestine with money, weapons, and jihad. This fatwa is undoubtedly a sound, legitimate, and upright fatwa. No one doubts that. If there is anything to note about it, it is that it was delayed. However, despite this delay and its consideration of several factors, it has provoked the agents of the police and the scholars of the authorities, as our Sheikh Karadawi, may God have mercy on him, called them. You hear and see what they have stirred up against this fatwa. These are people whose words amount to halting all jihad and surrendering to the Crusaders, and the Zionists abandoning the Al-Aqsa Mosque too. Them, how close they are to the words of God Almighty, and if they had been asked to commit apostasy they would have done so, meaning if the two holy mosques had been invaded and their homes and honor had been violated they would have given in, and if they had been asked to commit apostasy they would have done so, and they would not have hesitated, except briefly. This was one matter, and this is another matter that must be noted. On this occasion, we are today on the occasion of the first of the pivotal battles in the life of our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The first of the major battles was the Battle of Badr. We mentioned in previous sessions that our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, fought in approximately 27 battles. That is, he went out on approximately 27 separate expeditions. There is a slight difference of opinion as to whether they are counted as separate battles or as extensions of other battles. He fought in only 9 of these battles. This demonstrates the Prophet's, peace and blessings be upon him, ability to act swiftly in the face of danger, those who had prepared to
فكان يتفاجأ القوم الذين أعدوا لغزوه صلى الله عليه وسلم بجيشه في دارهم.
attack him, peace and blessings be upon him, were often surprised by his army in their own territory and were unable to fight. Thus the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, achieved the objective of the battle, almost without bloodshed. Of these 9 battles in which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, fought, we mentioned that 5 were major battles, which we can call pivotal battles. This means that the situation of the Muslims before and after each battle was significantly different. In other words, each battle achieved a decisive political objective. Also among the capabilities of our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and one of the manifestations of his military miracle and superiority as a military leader, is that the wars achieved their political objectives. Therefore, the total number of
ومجمل ما حققه النبي صلى الله عليه
Battles
وسلم من
undertaken by
الأهداف
the Prophet,
السياسية
peace and blessings be
في
upon him, and the
ذلك
total number
الوقت.
of political
إحنا
objectives he
أحسنت
achieved
سنوات
during
فقط
that time
أحسنت
only 9 or
سنوات
7
ميلادية
years, meaning 7 years of fighting, is
لكن
unparalleled in all
القوات
of human
الإسلامية
history. No military leader has
لم
been able
يوجد
to
قائد
achieve
عسكري
such results as our Prophet,
استطاع أن
peace and blessings
يحقق
be upon
مثل
him, with such a
النتيجة
small
التي
number
حققها نبينا صلى الله عليه وسلم بهذا القدر القليل من المعارك
of battles
وبهذا
and so
القدر
few
القليل من
casualties in such a
الضحايا
short
في
time.
ذلك
This is one of the
الزمان القليل.
miracles of our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and one of the
تلك من
signs of his prophethood.
معجزات
Now
نبينا
we are
صلى الله
discussing
عليه
the
وسلم ومن دلائل نبوته صلى الله عليه وسلم. طيب الآن نحن مع غزوة بدر. غزوة بدر
Battle of Badr. I
يعني
will begin now with its
أنزه
outcome
النبي
so that we are
لكي نكون
mindful of it,
مستعدين
but we will
له
come to its
لن
consequences,
ينتهي
God
الأمر
willing, at the end of the
بهذا.
discussion. We can say,
فيا
my
أحبابي يا جماعة
brothers and
إن غزوة
sisters, that the
بدر
Battle
هي
of Badr
الغزوة
is the battle that
التي
established the Islamic
أسست
State. It
الدولة
is the battle that
الإسلامية.
established the Islamic
هي
State.
الغزوة التي أسست الدولة الإسلامية بمعنى
In other words,
كان
before it, the
المسلمون
Muslims, a
قبلها
terrorist group, or an exiled
ما نعرفها
opposition,
اليوم
or a
أو
self-proclaimed state, something unrecognized,
معارضة
the closest
مهذبة
thing to
أو دولة مزعومة شيء غير معترف به. أقربها لكم مع بعد ما بين الأمرين.
you, with the vast
يعني الآن
difference between the
مثلا
two is this. For example,
أنا
I
أؤكد على
emphasize
بعد
the
ما بين
vast difference
الأمرين
between the two, but
بس
why? To
عشان
understand the issue
نستوعب
now in our
الموضوع.
current era. Does anyone think about
الآن
eliminating Israel? I
العصر
mean,
الذي
among
نحن
the
فيه الآن هل
politicians, does
يفكر
anyone think
أحد
about
في إزاء
eliminating
إسرائيل؟
Israel?
بعض
No one. Everyone is thinking about how
السياسيين
Israel
حد بيفكر في إزالة إسرائيل؟ ما حد كله بيفكر إزاي إسرائيل تتوسع وتتمدد. تمام؟
expands and
إسرائيل
extends.
لما
When
تأسست
Israel was founded in
والمفروض
1948
عليها
or
تأسيس
declared its establishment
1948
in 1948 until
وقتها سنة
1967, it was referred to in the
1967
Arab media as the so-called
وقالوا
State of Israel,
بهذه
and if an Arab
الدولة
leader wanted to
المزعومة. وكان الزعيم العربي إذا أراد أن يستعرض نفسه أمام الجماهير يقول سألقي إسرائيل
show
في
off to the
البحر
masses, he would say, I will throw
وهذه
Israel into the sea. This is
شراد
nothing but
من
evil from the
العصابات
Jewish gangs.
الإرهابية.
It is a state, it exists,
هي
but ultimately it
دولة
exists in an environment that does not
وفيهم
recognize it,
جزء
an
منهم لا
environment that is
يعترفها
psychologically preparing
وهم
publicly, of course.
بيستعدوا
No one
نفسيا.
was actually preparing, they weren't even
أقول
for
الوضع
Israel,
ما
but
حدش كان فيهم بيستعد، ده هم أصلا مكنوا لإسرائيل. بس أنا بكلمك على الوضع السياسي كما يفهمه الناس.
I'm talking to you about the
غير
political
مستعد
situation as
لمحيط
people understand
يتوقعه
it, an environment that
إسرائيل
is prepared, or an
مزعوم
environment that expects this
شراد
to be just a
ودولة
state of Israel.
مزعومة
It is a group in a
وما هو
so-called
إلا
state,
أن
and it is only when the
ينتقلوا
Arabs decide to
العرب
get
أن
rid of
يتخلصوا
it
منها
that they get rid of
فيتخلصوا.
it. Even one of
حد
the most
فيهم واحد
important
من
researchers
علماء
on Zionism, Dr.
الصهيونية
Abdul
دكتور عبد الوهاب المسيري بيقول أنا لم أكن. طبعا عبد الوهاب
Wahab
المسيري
el-Masiri
نشأ
says,
في
I was not,
الدولة
of course,
المدنية
Abdul.
وكان
Wahab
يعتبر في
el-Masiri
الفترة
grew up during the
العصرية أنا
monarchy,
لم
and
أكن
his
أهتم
youth was
أصلا
during the
بالموضوع
Nasser era,
السياسي
saying, I was not at
لأن
all
كل ما
concerned
كان
with the
بأن
issue of
المسألة
Israel
بسيطة
because I
بأن
was
المسألة
convinced
بسيطة
that the
أسهل
matter
ناس
was simple,
بيفهموها.
so why should I concern
إلى أن
myself with
سافر
it? Until
أمريكا
he traveled to America
ووجد
and
أن
found that
إسرائيل
Israel was a
هذه
reality,
حقيقة
and
واقعة وأنها مدعومة غربيا بكل أنواع الدعم.
that it was supported by the
هنا
West in
يمكن
every
وقف
way.
عند
At
الاهتمام
that time, what did he
بقصة
start to
إسرائيل
care about with the
وقصة
story of
الصهيونية
Israel and the story of
والصهاينة.
Zionism and
طيب
specializing in it? Well,
سنة
in the year 1967, in the year 1967, does anyone dare after the
أي أحد بعد
1967 war to say
67
about
يقول على
Israel
إسرائيل
that
إنها مزعومة؟
Israel is an
يبقى حرب 67 ما الذي فعلته؟
alleged state? So what did the
ثبتت
1967 war
الاتفاق اللي
do?
كان في
The
سنة
occupation of 1948 was
وجعلت
solidified and made
الإمبراطورية
unassailable and
الصهيونية
non-negotiable. Now the
الآن
ultimate
أقصى
dream of those who
أحلام
speak is a
بني
return to
إسرائيل
the
والعودة إلى
June 4,
إسرائيل
1967
4 يونيو
borders. That's their
67 ده
highest
أقصى
aspiration, while
أحلامهم.
they of course speak of a
تمام؟
state from the
بينما هم
Nile
طبعا
to the
يتكلمون في من النيل إلى الفرات. فحرب 67 بالنسبة للإسرائيليين هي النقلة
Euphrates.
من
For the Israelis, the
دولة مزعومة
1967 war was
غير
the
معترف
turning
بها
point,
إلى ثانية
transforming them from a
حقيقية
supposed
واقعية
unrecognized state
قوة
into a de
إقليمية
facto
تستطيع
reality,
أن
a
تنهزم
regional power
الدول
capable of
المجاورة.
defeating neighboring
إذا
countries. If you
استوعبنا هذا
grasp this
المثال
real-world
الواقعي
example, you'll understand that the
نفهم
Muslim state that
أن
arose
دولة المسلمين التي نشأت في المدينة المنورة كانت تبدو بالنسبة
in Medina
للحجاز
appeared to
وبالنسبة
the
للجزيرة
Hijaz and
العربية
the Arabian
مجرد
Peninsula as nothing more than a
مجموعة
group
من
of extremist, terrorist
اللاجئة
refugee gangs
اللي
with
كانوا
a
عايشين
new
هناك
ideology and a new
أقلية
religion, in the end
صهيونية
no future.
بالآخر
But when the
هي
Muslims
لن تقوم
triumphed at
لنا
the
الأبد.
Battle of
لما انتصر المسلمون في غزوة بدر هنا تحول المسلمون إلى قوة إقليمية في الحجاز
Badr, they
لتتحكم
transformed into a
في
regional
قضايا
power in
الصلح
the
والمعادلة.
Hijaz and the Arabian Peninsula, becoming part of the political equation. Therefore, the Battle of Badr was the first decisive battle in Muslim history. Nothing changed afterward.
ما بعدها ليس كما قبلها. تمام؟ طيب، كيف بدأت هذه القصة؟ النبي صلى الله عليه
So
وسلم
how did it all
لما
begin? This story of the
حلف
Prophet,
بكأس
peace and
الدم بين
blessings be upon
المشركين
him, as we
والمسلمين
mentioned, is that a state of war was declared between the polytheists and the Muslims, and that the Muslims were attacking the Quraysh caravans. Before that, the Quraysh had already confiscated the wealth of the emigrants. They confiscated every single emigrant.
قانون بقى غير دستوري بالنسبة
They made a law that
للمسلمين.
was
انت عارف
unconstitutional
وقت ما
for
بيجي
their time,
مشاكل
but what do you know when there are
الدستور ده
problems?
اصلا
The
هو ورقة
Constitution is
مكتوبة.
ours and the
فهم
documents are
كانوا
ours,
يظنون ان
so they
منهج
made a law that
التفاوض
whoever emigrated, their
حل
wealth
بيننا
became permissible for us to
ماله.
take. Therefore,
لذلك
everyone who
النبي
emigrated to
حلف
Medina had their wealth
بأن
seized
استولى
by the
المشركون على
polytheists.
أمواله.
The
طيب، استولى المشركون على أمواله، وبالتالي
polytheists
طبعا هم
seized their
تجار،
wealth, and of
فبدأوا
course, they were
يتاجرون في
merchants, so they began
الكرافان
trading with it. This
التي كانت
caravan,
تتجر
which
في
was
السريان.
led by Abu Sufyan,
فيها
contained a
أموال
great deal of
المهاجرين
wealth
وأموال
belonging to
التجار
the emigrants.
بلغت
Some
قامة
estimates, as
أموال
narrated in the books of
المهاجرين
Sunnah,
والأنصار
reached
50,000 دينار. 50,000 دينار. الدينار في ذلك الوقت
50,000
هو
dinars. The
الدينار
dinar,
كما
at that
يساوي
time, or rather the dinar as
حوالي
calculated by Muslim
54
economists,
ذهب.
was about 4.25
تمام،
grams of
فالدينار عبارة عن
gold,
1000
so you
جنيه.
multiply 5,500 by
اضرب لها
4.25 grams of
معنى كده
gold equals approximately how much? That means one dinar is 4.25 grams, so
الدينار الواحد 4 وربع. تمام، فاحنا دلوقتي عندنا 50,000.
now we have
تمام،
50,000. That's a huge
فثروة
fortune.
طائلة
This
يعني.
is because of
هذه الثروة
course,
الطائلة
hardly anyone dared
بينوزع
to attack the
قريش
Quraysh. The
كل
caravan
واحد
only
بينوزع
had 400 people, and the merchant was enticed with this money. We mentioned in the earlier gatherings that Hashim, the grandfather of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, had
أن هاشما جد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان قد أقام اتفاقيات مع القبائل
established
مع
agreements with
عقول
the
أطراف
tribes along the trade
جزيرية
route between
وليبيا
Mecca
وبين
and
مصر.
Yemen and between Mecca and Syria.
فبالتالي كانت
Consequently,
قوافل
the
قريش
Quraysh caravans could
تذهب
travel
وتجيء
safely. The
بأمان.
Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sent one or
فأرسل
two men
النبي
to
صلى
monitor the
الله عليه
return of this
وسلم
caravan.
رجلا أو
We
رجلين
mentioned the Battle of
في
Al-Ashura.
إنتاج
The
عودة
Prophet,
هذه
peace and
القافلة
blessings
إذا
be
كانت
upon him,
قافلة
went out
مهاجرة.
to
خرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعني التعرض لهذه القافلة وقت أن
intercept
خرجت من
this
مكة إلى
caravan
سوريا
until
لكنها
it
أفلتت.
left Mecca for
الآن
Syria, but it
محاولة
escaped.
التعرض لهذه
Now the
القافلة
attempt to
وهي
intercept this
عائدة
caravan, which is
إلى
returning from Syria, was
فإن
underway. The
النبي صلى
Prophet,
الله
peace
عليه
and blessings be
وسلم
upon him,
لما
said,
أراد
when he
التعرض
received news,
لقافلة
this
هذا
man,
الرجل بسيسة أو هذين الرجلان لما علم أو لما مر
Basisa,
بهم
or these two
القافلة
men, when he
أسرع
learned,
إلى
or
بيت
when the
قريش
caravan passed by them, he
ودخل
hurried
النبي
to the
صلى الله عليه
city and
وسلم.
informed the Prophet, peace and
فالنبي صلى الله عليه
blessings
وسلم
be
كان
upon
هناك
him. The
سيدنا
Prophet,
أنس
peace and blessings be
خرج
upon him, as
فقال
narrated by
للناس
Anas, went out and
إن
said to the
لنا
people, we have an
صلبة
errand to run. Whoever has a
أو
mount
أراد
ready, let him
النبي
ride
صلبة
with us. We
معه.
have an errand to run.
إن لنا
In
صلبة يعني بلهجتنا العامية الآن إحنا معنا
our
مشوار.
colloquial language
يعني
now,
إن
it
لنا
means we
صلبة
have
يعني
a
لنا
journey
شيء.
ahead of us, we have an
أراد
errand to
النبي
run.
غرة
Whenever the Prophet, peace and
عما
blessings be
يريد.
upon him,
إن لنا
intended to
طرقا
go on a
إلى
military
الغرة أو رد إلى
expedition,
الرمة.
he would announce his destination, saying,
استأذنه
we have an
قوم
errand to run. Whoever has a mount ready, let
لإمضائهم
him
في
ride
هذه
with us.
المدينة. يعني في
Some
ناس
people in the outskirts of the
العربيات
city
بتاعتهم
asked his
جاهزة
permission. They meant
بالمصطلح
that some
المعاصر يعني.
people's vehicles weren't ready
العربي
in
ده إيه؟
modern
عربية
terms, meaning their
موتورين
cars were at home or being
وموتورين.
repaired. They asked his
فاستأذنوه
permission to
لكي
bring them
يأتوا بها
from the
إلى
outskirts of the
المدينة،
city, a
مكان
place far
بعيد عن
from the
المدينة
city. The Prophet, peace and
يضبط
blessings be
حياة
upon him, said,
الأقل
no, only those
سكينة،
whose mounts are
بل من كان ظهره حاضرا. الناس اللي إيه؟ الناس اللي جاهزة.
ready. This, my
هنا
friends, is the first
نجد
lesson we learn from the
نتعلم
Battle
من
of
هذا
Badr.
الدرس
Of course, those who were present at Badr held
أن
a
الذين حضروا
special place
بدرا
among the Muslims. The
كانوا
Muslims
أشرف
considered them the
عند
most
المسلمين.
honorable and the
يعني
greatest
المسلمين
people,
هم
and the
يعتبرون أشرف الناس يعني وأكبر الناس وأسمى الناس فيهم، فيقولون العشر المبشرون بالجنة
most
ثم
honorable among them are
أهل
the
بدر.
10 promised paradise. Then the people of
الذين
Badr. The people of
وقفوا
Badr
على
have a
الصراط.
special status. What they have is not this
ما معنى
special
هذا؟
status, but
فقال
rather
النبي
that they
صلى الله عليه
were
وسلم أنهم
fully
كانوا
prepared. Therefore,
جاهزين.
among what has been narrated regarding the
تمام.
virtue of the people of Badr
لذلك
is
ورد
the saying of the
في
Prophet, peace and
فضلهم
blessings
لبدر
be upon him,
النبي
in
صلى الله
the
عليه وسلم في الحديث الحسن لعل الله اطلع على أهل بدر فقال اعملوا ما
Sound
شئتم
hadith,
فقد
perhaps God looked upon the people of Badr and said, "Do whatever you wish, for I have forgiven you." Hadib ibn Abi Balta was among those who witnessed Badr with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The virtue of his witnessing Badr was what saved him from what he revealed of the secret on the day of the conquest of Mecca.
فتح مكة. وكذلك وهناك حديث أيضا أظنه في صحيح مسلم لما جاء
Likewise, there is
رجل
also a hadith, I think it is in Sahih Muslim. When a slave came, yes, the hadith of Jabir in Sahih Muslim, when a slave came to Hadib ibn Abi Balta to complain to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, among what he said was that Hadib would enter hell, the slave had apparently been wronged. Of course, our master Hadib seemed to have been
طبعا سيدنا حاطب كأنه كان شديدا على عبيده له قصة أخرى مع سيدنا عمر.
harsh with his slaves. He has another story with our master Umar. So the important thing is that a slave came to complain about Hadib to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said to him that Hadib would enter hell. The Prophet said, "You have lied." The word lied in Arabic also carries the meaning of made a mistake, not in the sense of lying as we know it now, but in the sense of making a mistake. It does not include he witnessed Badr and Hudaybiyah. This is one of the virtues of the people of Badr. Of course, there is the famous hadith of Bukhari when the mother of Haritha, Ibn Suraka, came to the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and said to him, "O Messenger of God, tell me about Suraka." This Suraka was killed in Badr by a stray arrow, meaning a stray arrow. Is he in paradise so that I may rejoice, or is he in hell so that I may strive to weep for him? He said to her, "O mother of Haritha, it is paradise, and your son has attained the highest paradise." One of the most astonishing hadiths that tells you about the status of the people of Badr is that of our master, Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar is one of the most prominent followers of the Prophet's Sunnah. He is famous for his strict adherence to the Prophet's Sunnah. You know the well-known story of when Abu Ja'far al-Mansur sat with Imam Malik and told him to write a book avoiding the leniencies of Ibn Abbas and the strictness of Ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar's adherence to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was exemplary. When Abdullah ibn Umar learned that Sa'id ibn Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail, his father's cousin and a Badr participant as mentioned in Bukhari, was ill on a Friday, he went to visit him that very day, even missing the Friday prayer. This indicates that Bukhari's action in his hadith shows that this was solely because Sa'id was a Badr participant. Visiting the sick Badr, at least, was more important than attending the Friday prayer, so we are talking about such figures. What made these individuals so distinguished? Of course, readiness is key. 2 or 3 days ago, an earthquake struck Turkey, and this was a practical test of preparedness. It's a practical test, meaning that at that moment we all wished we had accomplished something, written our wills or paid off debts. Everyone knows themselves best, but this was a practical test of readiness. And truly, something I'll never forget, and I ask God Almighty to have mercy on our sheikh, whom I'm about to tell you about, was when we were in a gathering, he told us to each take out a pen and paper. We took out our pens and papers. Then he said, "Now count with me. How many prayers did you perform in the mosque last week? How many days did you recite the Quran? How many days did you pray the night prayer?" He recited to us the elements of the self-accounting portion, and everyone saw their results. I was saying to him, "Sheikh, you surprised us." He replied, "And so does death come suddenly." This is a situation I'll never forget even after all these years. Yes, death comes suddenly. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said in a moment, "We have a request. Whoever has a mount, let him ride with us." The moment an earthquake strikes, and that's why the first lesson we learn from the Battle of Badr is preparedness. our prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, led.
سيدنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خرج بالمسلمين لكي يترصد العير. أبو سفيان قائد
The
الجيش.
Muslims out
طبعا
to
أبو
intercept
سفيان
the caravan. Abu Sufyan was the caravan leader. Abu Sufyan was undoubtedly one of the most astute and skilled commanders. He had been targeted before on his way from Mecca to Syria, so he was
قبل ذلك وهو خارج من مكة إلى الشام. فكان أبو سفيان في أشد أحواله يقظة وحذرا.
extremely vigilant and cautious. He would ask everyone he met on the road if they had seen anything suspicious about Medina. He would ask anyone passing by, "What's wrong with Abu Sufyan?" He was very careful not to send scouts to check the route. He would ask if there might be a caravan or an army.
هل يمكن أن يكون هناك كمين؟ هل يمكن أن يكون هناك جيش؟ وفي بعض الأحيان أبو سفيان خرج بنفسه.
Sometimes Abu Sufyan would go out himself. It is said that Abu Sufyan cleverly discovered the scouts leaving Medina by finding camel dung. He picked it up, broke it open, and found date pits from Yathrib, Medina. This
البعير فضلات البعير فأمسك بها ففتتها فوجد فيها نوى من تمر يثرب.
revealed who was behind the caravan. There were elements of Islamic intelligence present here. People were coming here, so of course Abu Sufyan was involved. It's also possible the information leaked. We said that in the early days of the Muslim
احنا قلنا إنه المسلمين في بدايات غزواتهم حصل أحد الأشياء التي لاحظناها في الغزوات
conquests. One of the things we noticed was that the Muslims didn't catch the camel in their three objectives. They didn't catch the camel, so we said that the Islamic intelligence apparatus was still developing, meaning the information they had wasn't yet accurate, so it's very possible the information leaked.
المهم إن أبو سفيان بحذره ويقظته أو لعله خبر
The important thing is that Abu Sufyan, with his caution and vigilance, or perhaps he had received leaked information or something similar, realized that something was waiting for him on the road to Medina, so he took two actions. The first was that he headed west towards the coast, a route not used by caravans. The second was that he quickly sent a messenger to Mecca to inform them that their wealth and caravan were in danger. Okay, these two actions were indeed successful in concealing the matter from the Muslims. When did the Muslims find out about the news? This also brings us back to the fact that the
وهذا أيضا يرجعنا إلى أنه ما يزال جهاز المخابرات الإسلامي في أول تكونه ما تزال
Islamic intelligence apparatus was still in its early stages, its beginnings still shaky. When the Meccan army approached them, it was no surprise that some Muslim scouts went out and seized a man. The account says he was a black slave belonging to the Banu al
أنه غلام أسود لبني الحجاج أمسكوا به يسألونه عن أبي سفيان.
Hajjaj. They seized him and asked him about Abu Sufyan. Where is Abu Sufyan now? The man told them, I don't know about Abu Sufyan, it's Abu al-Hakam ibn Hisham, Utbah ibn Rabia, Shayba ibn Rabia, and Umayyah ibn Khalaf. The military situation changed
الموقف العسكري تغير تماما. عارف أنت لما تبقى يعني رايح تلعب
completely. You know when you're going to play against the Asiut cement team and you find Brazil, for example, they started beating him thinking he was lying to them. When they beat him, he said, yes, Abu Sufyan. They
قال نعم نعم ماشي أبو سفيان ما فيها.
knew what he was doing. You have to confess, or what you have to confess. So they kept beating him. When he said, yes, you came from Abu Sufyan, they let him go. Okay, let him go, he'll have some tea now, he'll confess, he'll have some tea, he'll eat something. Where is Abu Sufyan? He told them, I swear I
هيشرب شاي هياكل لقمة. ها أبو سفيان فين؟ يقول لهم والله ما عنديش فكرة عن أبو سفيان. أنا جاي من عند أبو
have no
الحكم
idea about Abu Sufyan. Sufyan, I am coming from Abu al-Hakam ibn Hisham and Utbah ibn Rabi. They are going to beat him again. The Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was praying, and he understood this, so he said, by my life, by him in whose hand is my soul, if he tells you the truth, you will beat him, and if he lies to you, you will leave him. Here at that moment,
اكتشف المسلمون أنهم إيه؟ إن الوضع اتغير.
the Muslims discovered that the situation had changed, that the caravan had escaped, and that they were now facing an army from Mecca. Of course, what does this mean? This is a shock, and it must also be understood from it that the companions are human beings and our Lord, may he be blessed and exalted, is
وربنا تبارك وتعالى وهو يذكرهم بنعمته عليهم قال لهم وتودون أن غير
reminding them of his favor upon them. He said to them, and you wish that the one without power would be yours. If I am going to a caravan with 400 people, and that is Abu Sufyan, then you have now found an army into which Mecca has thrown its most precious possessions, all the top leaders, the first Quraysh rank is present, meaning close to, here, so the situation is
وضع صعب. طيب ايه اللي حصل بقى؟ ما الذي
difficult.
حصل
So what
نتيجة
happened?
اللحظة؟
What brought us to this moment? Abu Sufyan's plan succeeded. This man, the messenger, went to the people of Mecca, specifically to the Quraysh. It was their custom that when a calamity befell them, they would grab their horse, cut off its ears, tear their clothes, and shout, "The calamity, the calamity."
ويشق ثوبه وينادي تمام اللطيمة اللطيمة يعني المصيبة المصيبة
Meaning the calamity, a breaking
تمام
news alert. In modern terms, it would be our caravan carrying our wealth has been subjected to a surprise attack from Medina, the national enemy of the Quraysh. So the Quraysh rose up, even though it was 50,000 dinars. The
هبت قريش معلش دي 50,000 دينار برضه هبت قريش للدفاع عن قافلتها
Quraysh still rose up to defend their caravan, and this was the most important thing, to defend their prestige, status, and influence. It wasn't just about money. Therefore, they mobilized and went out. Every clan of the Quraysh came
ولذلك أوعبت فخرجت يعني خرج من كل بطون قريش بطنا يعني كل البطون في قريش خرجت إلا
out
بني
except
عدي
for Banu Adi. All the leaders of the Quraysh, the first rank, went out, except for Abu Lahab. Only Abu Lahab did not go out. It was a matter that could not tolerate anyone staying behind. Therefore our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he will mention it, and we will come to that shortly. He says, whoever sees Al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, do not kill him, for he has gone out against his will. So what are you facing now? In the face of a sacred national mission, no one can sit idly by and say, no, by God, I'm not going on this mission. What would that be at that moment? It would be a kind of betrayal of the homeland and a betrayal of fathers and grandfathers. You're a fifth columnist planted, and so on, to the point that, even Umayyah ibn Khalaf, when he saw that his body had become heavy, meaning he couldn't fight, sat down and would go out. He would go out from the tribe of Juma, from the one who would take his place. Abu Jahl, when he passed by him and he was sitting like that, said to him, what are you doing sitting like a woman? You're sitting like a woman, and we're the ones who are supposed to defend you. What did he do? He couldn't stay behind, and he stood up saying, the son of the wicked woman killed me. He knew he was going to his death, but the nationalistic atmosphere among the Quraysh, their fervor, their sense of justice and all that, meaning a nationalistic fervor that couldn't be ignored. So the Quraysh marched out and
طيب ولذلك هنا بعض الناس تسأل طيب لماذا سيدنا خالد بن الوليد لم يشارك في غزوة بدر؟ هنا يعني ورد في ذلك روايتان، رواية أنه بقي في مكة كنوع من الحراسة والحماية الداخلية.
their clans marched out, and they even summoned some Bedouin tribes. Now some people are asking, why didn't our master Khalid ibn al-Walid participate in the Battle of Badr? There are two accounts of this. One is that he stayed in Mecca as a form of internal security and protection, especially since his tribe, Banu Maxim, marched out led by Abu Jahl himself, his son Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl, and his brother, the brother of al-Walid, that is, Khalid's brother, who was al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. Another account says that he was with the caravan and went to Syria, but he lagged behind the caravan there, so he wasn't even there. Anyway, this isn't the place to investigate the matter, but since I mentioned that all the leaders marched out, some people are asking this question, so if Abu Sufyan marched out, when he managed to head west and take his caravan to an untrodden path, he was saved. He passed through Medina and Badr and approached Mecca. He sent word to them that the caravan was safe and there was no need for them to leave and they should return. Good, all is well, praise be to God, it's all good, and it came from you, O mosque. You know, the one who went to pray, no, the mosque is closed. It came from you, O mosque, you're the one who's closed. So what happened? Abu Jahl was in charge of the file.
أبو جهل مسؤول الملف يا جماعة. أبو جهل مسؤول ملف المسلمين في جهاز الأمن القومي.
Folks, Abu Jahl was in charge of the Muslims' file in the Quraysh security apparatus. We've talked about this man a lot and I don't like to, I always like you to, forget or overlook the power of our enemies even if they are our enemies. Abu Jahl was an extremely powerful figure. He was able to
أبو جهل ده شخصية في غاية القوة. ده واحد استطاع أن يقود قريشا رغم أنف قريش.
lead the Quraysh against their will, and he ain't the oldest among them, but he could make those older than him do what he wanted, and, when he saw the Quraysh had settled down, he would say to them, so what are you doing, silent or what? What are we going to do about Muhammad? He was
موضوع محمد يعني راجل هو متولي الملف مع نفسه. تمام.
in charge of the file with. The same thing happened, so Abu Jahl said, no, by God, the caravan has been saved. No, by God, we will not return until we reach. Batter, slaughter the camels, drink the wine, and the singing girls will sing for us, and the
وتغني لنا القيان وتسمع بنا العرب فلا يزالون يهابوننا أبد الدهر.
Arabs will hear about us and they will still fear us forever. The matter remains true now. Yes, the 50,000 dinars were saved, but what now? We are facing a test of dignity, a test of influence, a test of status. So what did the Quraysh who were planning to return do? I followed Abu
قريش اللي كانت ناوية ترجع دي عملت إيه؟ مشيت ورا أبو جهل. إلا
Jahl, the first of the prophets, peace and blessings be upon him, tribes, the Banu Zura. Only 300 of them returned. The army at that time numbered 1,300, so the Banu Zura returned with 300 and the rest went out. We know this situation will be repeated, but it will be repeated later. Perhaps if God grants us long life and enables us to meet, we will come to him. Durayd ibn al-Sima, may God bless him, was a very old man reaching 100.
تمام. هذا رجل كان كبيرا بلغ 100 عام وكان حكيم هوازن وثقيف.
Years of age, he was a wise man of Hawaz and Thaqif. When he went out to the battle of Hunain, he heard the voices of many women and the sound of sheep. He had gone blind because of his old age. He said, we are going to fight now. What brought the women and sheep? Then Aufi ibn Malik, the
عوف بن مالك اللي هو القائد الشاب بقى المتحمس قال له ده انا اللي طلعت
young and enthusiastic commander, said to him, yes, I brought these spoils and the women so that the fighters would fight bravely. If someone brings his women, his wealth, and his family so that the fighters will fight bravely. He replied, you have been deceived by your own ego. The defeated do not. Nothing can stop the defeated when war bites him, but no one listened. So what did he do? Durayd recited his verses, which are proverbial and express one of the important rules of society. He said, I gave them my command at the bend of the valley, but they did not heed my advice until the morning after. Advised them when we were at the place called the bend of the valley, but they did not pay attention until it was too late on the morning. So, when they disobeyed me, I was supposed to be one of them. So when they disobeyed me, what does logic say? So when they disobeyed me, should I leave them and go? Is that right or not? I see that as the right thing to do. So when they disobeyed me, I was one of them and I see their error, or perhaps I am misguided. Am I not one of Ghazia? If Ghazia goes astray, I go astray. If Ghazia is guided, I am guided. That's how people are, my friends, and this is something, as I told you, that you read in sociology books. The group here, if the group, any group, if it leans towards one side, if it leans towards one side, there are few who object to it and stand apart from it. There is something very rare in it, and there is even a very well-known experience in the world. Stanley Milgram's social psychology experiment explored whether an individual can go against the group. It's a very clear experiment we take.
مش تبعنا، يعني واحد هو ايه موضع
3 people
التشبيه.
who are with us and one who
والله
isn't.
مثلا
We
يعني
ask the
كان
third
النهار
person, for example, what time it
لا
is. The
تدل
first
الربع
3 will
بالمصدر
answer correctly
مرة
once,
واثنين
twice,
وثلاثة،
and 3 times.
والمرة
On the
الرابعة
4th
هيخطئوا
attempt, they will give a very
إجابة
wrong
خطأ.
answer. For
يعني لو أنت
example, if the
سألتها
time is
هي
12
صح
o'clock,
نص
they will say
إجابة شديدة الخطأ. عشان نشوف الرابع ده
9:30, a very wrong
هيمشي مع
answer. We
المجموع
then see
ولا
what the fourth
هيميل
person will
برأيه،
do. Will they go along with the group or stand up for their own opinion?
هيمشي تبع الرأي.
75% of people went along with the group, which was clearly
اجتماعيا
wrong. This demonstrates the
رابع
power
الخطأ.
of groupthink. Of course, this is a topic I will and elaborate on. Much
نتيجة
has been
الجدل
written
المعين
about
ده
it, and there
أظن
are
إن ده
even
أطيل به، مكتوب فيه كتير وحتى معمول عليه أفلام وثائقية. لو واحد دخل فيكم على ناشونال جيوغرافيك
documentaries on it. If you
في
watch
أفلام
National
كتير
Geographic,
بتحكم
you'll
على
find
العقيدة،
films about
وإزاي
how
الناس
habits are
بتتشرب
formed
بيها
and how
وتتراهن
people
بيها
absorb
في
what they
الأفلام.
see without rational
لكن
thought. But
الخلاصة
the point
مهما
I
كان
want to make here
الرجل
is that Abu Jal was able to
راجعا على
lead the
قيادات
Quraysh
قريش
despite all the
عادوا
prominent
فيها
figures among
بكل
them,
قوة،
although they
ومع
did and
أنهم
want to
كانوا لا
return to
يريدون أن يرجعوا أن يحاربوا، بل كانوا يريدون أن يرجعوا، إلا أنه
fight, but rather wanted
وصلهم
to
إلى
return. He
هلكتهم.
led them to their destruction.
وهناك
Some went out
نقطة
knowing they would
فقهية
perish.
مهم في ذلك.
So, the
طيب
important thing is if the Quraysh went out, we had 1,000
حينما
fighters,
خرج
600 of
قريش
whom were fully
مع
armored, and
1,000
they had
مقاتل
70
ومعهم
camels, and those
600
70
بارع،
camels
بارع
were
يعني يرتدي الدروع، ومعهم 70 بعيرا، وال70 بعير دول كمان دارعون،
also fully
ومعهم
armored, and they had 100 camels and 70
معهم 100
horses. They
بعير ومعهم
entrusted
70
themselves to God
فرسا.
and headed towards Medina. Now, what was the situation of the Muslims? There were
وتوجهوا إلى
313
المدينة.
Muslims,
طيب
one
المسلمين
or
دلوقتي، المسلمين وضعهم ازاي؟ المسلمين 313 واحد، فيهم فرس أو اتنين. الروايات مختلفة، الرواية الصحيحة عند
2 of
البخاري
whom had horses. The
فرس
narrations
واحد.
differ. The
سيدنا
correct
علي رضي
narration
الله
in
عنه يقول:
Bukhari is that they had one
خرجنا
horse.
يوم
Our
بدر
master Ali, may
فوجدنا
God be pleased with him,
فريق
said, I
المقداد.
saw us on the day of Badr and there was no horseman among us except Al-Miqdad.
وعندنا
That's it. We had
313
313
وعندنا
men and then we had
70
70
بعيرا.
camels. The
ال70 بعير الناس يتناوبون عليها،
people took turns riding the 70
الثلاثة بيركبوا
camels.
ايه؟
3 people would ride each
يركبوا
camel, taking turns, and
يتناوبون
here there is the
عليها.
famous hadith of
وجدنا
the
في
Prophet,
الحديث
peace and
المشهور،
blessings
حديث
be upon
النبي
him.
صلى الله عليه
The
وسلم،
Prophet was in the
إن
group that
بيجي
included our
يجي
master,
مجموعة
Ali ibn
ويجي
Abi
في
Talib, and
حديث
our
آخر
master
مجموعة
Abu
أخرى يجي
Lubaba.
سيدنا
The
أبو
3
لبابة
Ansari men
الأنصاري.
who took turns
دول الثلاثة
riding
اللي
the
كانوا
camel
بيتناوبوا
were
عليها.
Ali and Abu Lubaba.
فكان سيدنا علي وسيدنا أبو لبابة يقولان للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: نحن نمشي عنك.
They would say to the Prophet,
فكان
peace and
يقول:
blessings be upon
ما
him,
أنتم
we will
أعلم
walk for
مني
you.
وما أنا
He would reply, you are not
بما
stronger than
عليكم.
me and I am not less in need of
فكان النبي
reward
صلى الله
than
عليه
you.
وسلم
So the
نوبته
Prophet's turn was the same
ونوبتهم.
as theirs. Now,
تمام.
why was the meeting at Badr? If you look at a map, you will see the location of
لماذا
Badr as
كان
I will now
اللقاء في
describe
بدر؟
it to you. Badr was a
على
wide,
مدار
open place
الخريطة
surrounded
أنت
by
سترى موقع بدر على هذا النحو الذي سأحكيه لكم الآن. بدر ده كان مكان متسع تحفه الجبال، مكان متسع منبسط تحفه الجبال.
mountains.
تمام.
It had 3 entrances,
وفيه
one to the south
3
called the
منافذ.
farthest side, one to the north called
تمام.
the lower side,
ال3
and one to the
منافذ:
east close to the
منفذ إلى الجنوب هذا يسمى العدوى القصوى، ومنفذ إلى الشمال يسمى العدوى الدنيا، ومنفذ إلى الشرق قريب من منفذ الشمال.
northern entrance.
فلذلك كان
Therefore,
هذا
this
المكان
place, surrounded
اللي هو
by
تحفه
mountains,
الجبال
had the water of the Badr well
كان
and some other
فيه
wells, but the
رواة
largest
في
was the
بعض
Badr
الروايات
well.
أخرى أظن
Now,
أكثرها
listen
في أحدب.
carefully. It was a wide,
طيب
open
مكان
place
يا جماعة،
surrounded by
ركز معايا كده، مكان منبسط تحفه الجبال
mountains with water,
وفيه
and since it had water, it also had
خير.
palm trees. So it was a resting place
كان
for caravans.
مستراحا
This was the
للقوافل.
best place to protect the caravan from raiders or
المكان
highway robbers, because
تحمي
once you
فيه
have
القافلة من
established
ايه؟
guards on the
من المغيرين او من قطاع الطرق، لان انت بمجرد ما اقمت حراسة على المنافذ ال3 فانت تقريبا كده ايه؟ اقمت حراسة
3
تامة على
entrances you have
المكان.
almost established
ومكان
complete
فيه
guards on the
الرزق،
place and a
يعني فيه
place where there is
المياه
sustenance,
فيه النخل.
meaning there is water and there are
انتوا
palm
عارفين
trees, you know. Sustenance and security, or sustenance and security,
الرزق
food and
هو
security, life is
الحياة
sustained by them, and
تقوم
that is
عليها.
mentioned in the Almighty's saying, who
وذلك
can
مذكور في قوله تعالى. ها، مين يجيب الآية؟
bring the
أطعمهم من
verse?
جوع
He fed them against hunger and secured them against fear. Excellent. He
أطعمهم
fed
من
them
جوع.
against hunger and secured them
مجموعة
against
آية طويلة
fear.
لكن
Okay, there's another verse but more precise than this one. Whoever brings it will receive a reward, God willing. It's a verse, and God knows best. I
والله
mean,
اسمع يا
it's
مولانا
not the
الكلام ده
verse I
جميل
have
جدا
in
يا أخي.
mind, I mean maybe it's the one he said, no, 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 I'm talking about the issue of have we not.
لا 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 لا، انا بتكلم على مساله ها، اولم نمكن لهم حرما امنا، والله برضو تنفع وحلوه جدا. دي بقى ينفع تاخد فيها جايزه، رغم ان مش هي اللي في دماغي برضو. قال قوله تعالى في سورة الحج: كأي من قرية أمليت
Established for
لها
them a secure sanctuary,
فأخذناها
God knows
بأسها
best.
ظالمة
This one is also
فأخذناها
suitable and very
أخذا
good. This one is suitable and you can receive a reward for it,
ظالم
even though it's not the one I have in
وليس
mind.
برشيد.
He said, May God Almighty be
في
exalted in
بداية
Surah
الأمر
Al-Hajj.
لازم يبقى
How
في
many a
أمر
city did we give
بالحياة،
respite to, and we
وتأتي
destroyed it while it was committing
بالبناء،
injustice, so it is now
وتأتي
fallen.
بالزراعة، وتأتي
Upon
بالرزق.
its roofs and how many a
مصر
disused
موطن
well and how many a
الخلافة.
lofty palace.
تمام،
Any place
فهذه
people
على
must have a
حسب.
source of
فالمهم
life. The
الخلاصة
well
يا
is the one
شباب
with the water and, the
المكان
water
ده
of course
بناء
brings
كان
agriculture
للاستراحة
and
والسكن.
sustenance. And
خلاص،
the palace is a place of
الخطة
governance that
المثلث
provides
التاريخي
security. This is a
التاريخي
sign of
الجميل
life.
ده
So
برضه
the
شيء
important
ممتاز
point
جدا،
now is that this
انه
place, Badr,
يستطيع
was a
المسلمون السيطرة على هذه
resting
المسافة
place for
الضخمة.
caravans. Okay, the Muslims' plan
ووقع
was
بينهم
therefore
اتفاق في
that this
الاخر.
place was also an excellent place
لكن
because if
شرط
the
نجاح
Muslims
هذه
could
الخطة ايه؟
control these three entrances,
ما
then the
شرط نجاح
caravan would have
الخطة
fallen
دي؟
into the
طيب،
trap. But what was the condition for the success of this plan? There is an important condition for the success of this plan, which is the word, not the
ها،
word, but the
انت
word,
عارف ان
not
انا
you,
عمال
because you know the story, you
اه
expect exactly what happened. You have two
بالظبط
prizes today,
تقريبا.
okay or not, it seems the prize is distributed
هم
between
تقريبا
you two, okay, that the
الجائزة واحدة
convoy
بالنسبة لهم
enters,
الاثنين.
meaning the condition for the success of the plan
ولا
is that the
يتخفى،
news leaks. If
يعني شرط نجاح الخطة لا يتسرب الخبر. إذا تسرب الخبر والقافلة لم تدخل الفخ، يبقى إيه اللي
the
حصل؟
news leaks and the convoy does not enter the
راحت
trap,
يا
then
جماعة.
what
خلاص،
happened? It's lost, guys,
يبقى
because
قدامك
what
بقى
will you have
إيه؟
left? A
مساحة
wide area means
واسعة.
the matter seems
المسألة
completely
تكون
different.
مختلفة
So Abu
تماما.
Jal, when he says no by
فبالتالي
God until we return, Badr,
أبو
do you
جهل
understand what
وهو
Abu
لا
Jal's
والله
words are
حتى
about? From
نال
this
بدرا.
location we will come to Badr, which is the
تفهم
place where
تفهم كلمة أبو جهل من إيه؟ من هذا الموقع. إحنا سنأتي بدر اللي هو المكان الذي كان يرتقب
the battle was expected
لتقع
to
فيه
take place.
المعركة.
We will come
عارفين
to
المكان ده؟
this place and stay there, and the
ونحتمي
roots will be slaughtered, and we will drink the drink, and the singing girls
ونشرب
will
الشراب
sing for
وتظل
us.
علينا
I mean,
الغمام
what will we
ونعمل إيه؟
do? A national victory
ونصلي ونأتي
celebration
هذا
in this
المكان.
place. Okay, so the
تمام؟
Muslims were surprised by what
فلذلك طيب فوجئ المسلمون الآن بما حصل. طبعا المسلمون
happened. Of course,
يعني
the
عندهم أولا
Muslims have a problem first,
تفاجؤوا.
that they
دي
were
مشكلة
surprised.
كبيرة
This is a problem, a big problem, that they were
وهيحتاجوا إن هم
surprised.
يعملوا إيه
And we will
بعدها؟
ask now, what will they do after
يخرجوا
this
وهم خارجون
moment?
وهم
But the
مستعدون
polytheists, as they went out, were ready
لكن
for
بعد
good
بدء
fight.
القتال
They sent Umair ibn
أرسل
Wab al-Jumahi
عمير
a
بن وهب الجمحي. عمير بن وهب رجل يلقب بشيطان قريش.
man nicknamed the
تمام؟
devil of Quraysh.
أرسلوه
They
لكي
sent him to
يستطلع
scout the Muslims. How many Muslims were there?
يستطلع المسلمين.
Umair ibn Wab went out on a
كم
secret
واحد؟
mission. He did scout the Muslims, and it seems he was skilled
خرج
because he
مستسلما
calculated their
إلى
number
أنه هذا
accurately.
استطلع
He
المسلمين، ويبدو أنه كان ماهرا لأنه استطلع عدد المسلمين وفعلا أصاب عددهم.
also added that
وكمان
they had no
تحضر
ambush
وليس
behind them
المسلمون
because Badr was
بعيد.
155 kilometers from Medina.
فالمسألة بعيدة عن المدينة المنورة 155 كيلو. تمام؟
He came to Quraysh and
فجاء
said, O
إلى
people
قريش
of
وهو يقول:
Quraysh, the people know the
معشر
people are
قريش إنهم
300
لا
more or
يرهبون
less, they have no ambush behind them.
ثلاثمائة
But, O
يزيدون
people
أو
of
ينقصون وليس لهم كمين من ورائهم، إلا أنني يا معشر قريش رأيت المنايا تحمل البلايا. لا معلش، أنا شفت بقى
Quraysh,
إيه؟
I saw death carrying calamities.
منايا.
No, excuse me, I saw
في
people who were a little
حاجة
different.
كده
If I
يعني
told you the exact number, I would be lying to you and changing
هم 300
half the
واحد
picture.
صحيح،
300 is
لكن
true,
إيه؟
but what? No, different types.
لا نوعيات مختلفة، نخبة،
Elite, I saw
رأيت
death
المنايا
carrying
تحمل
calamities.
البلايا.
By God, not one of them will die except after being killed.
وقد
A
قتلوا
man
النبي.
means the last or best.
يعني
Possibility is that we will kill them and
العدد
wipe them out, but
يمثل
only
الموت،
after we have lost
بس
what
بعد ما
the
يكون راح مننا إيه؟ تلت الجيش. إيه رأيكم في النصيحة اللطيفة دي؟
army has lost.
نصيحة
What do
صادقة.
you think of this kind advice? It's sincere advice. Who should take it up? Abu Jal, the man in charge of the file.
الراجل اللي ماسك الملف. آه
Yes, so he rebuked him and said, "You are letting the people down, you agent, you despicable fifth columnist. A media speech that weakens the great Egyptian army, the great army, the great shark. Anyway, whatever it is, you are letting the
تخذل الناس. طبعا ايه هنا
people down, of course." Here
عتبة بن
Utbah
ربيعة
ibn Rabia
رضي الله
emerged, and
رضي عن
Utbah
هذا
ibn
الرجل.
Rabia is a man we can call the wise man of Quraysh, but he follows the school of thought of Durayd ibn al-Sima or Durayd ibn al-Sima, which is, what? When they disobeyed me, I was one
اللي هو ايه فلما عصوني كنت منهم وقد أرى غوايتهم أو أنني غير مهتدي وهل
of
أنا
them, and I
بغازي
saw their error, or that I was
غازي
not
أو
guided.
غويت
Am
وإن
I not but one of
غازية
Gazia? If Gazia goes astray, I go astray, and
وإن
if
ربي
Gazia is guided, I am guided.
موقفه
Well, this was Utbah ibn Rabia's
وإن
last wise
ربيعة طوال
stance.
مسيرته
Throughout his life in the
النبوية
Prophet's
على
biography,
هذا
he
المسلك.
followed this school of thought,
تمام
which is, when there is a little
لما تيجي
freedom,
تبص
says Ray.
للقضية يقول رأي سديد إنما في اتجاه عام
Sadded, but in
هذا
a
رجل
general
عظيم.
direction, I am a man from my
يعني
people.
لو
I mean, if you
تتذكروا
remember, he is
لما
the one
سمع
who,
النبي صلى
when
الله
he
عليه وسلم
heard the
خطاب النبي
Prophet,
صلى
may
الله عليه
God
وسلم
bless
خطبة
him and grant
الجمعة
him peace, reciting the
أمام
beginning of a
قريش
surah to him in prayer, what did he
أطيعوني
say? He
وأعصبوها
said,
بي
"O people of Quraysh,
خلوها معايا
obey me and
دلوقتي خلوها
support me,
عندي
let it be with me this time.
ودعوا
Leave
هذا
this man
الرجل
to his own devices. By God, he will have a great
فوالله
future. If
لأنه
the
ما
Arabs
شأن
defeat him, he
عظيم
will ultimately be
بدأ
the one who
يتمسك
brings a
بالعرب
message, full of politics
بكافة
and
غرائزها
jihad, and he will
الفاسدة
surely clash with the existing order.
السياسة
If the
والجهاد
Arabs defeat
وأكلها
him, he will
الصور
enter into wars.
والرذائل
If the Arabs defeat him and
شوفوا
kill
الصور
him, then you
اهو
will have
هيدخل
spared him.
الحروب
With others, we, the
أصابتهم
Quraysh, did not.
وقتلتهم فقد كفيتموه بغيركم واحنا قريش ما دخلناش في حرب أهلية
Enter into a
وإن
civil
انتصر على
war,
العرب
and if he prevails over the
فإنكم
Arabs, his
ستفلحون
glory will be your glory, his kingdom your kingdom, and you will be
سعد
the
الناس
happiest of people because of
كلام
him.
حكيم والله
Wise words
قال له
by God, right or wrong? Who is our friend, the man in charge of the file? Oh, he bewitched you with his words.
لا سحرك والله بلسانه سحرك بلسانه دي تشبه لما أقول إيه ضحك عليك برضه العيل الصغير
This is
زي ما
similar
يكون
to when I say he tricked you.
فاهم
This little kid tricks you,
سحرك
so he
بلسانه
bewitched you with his
فيقول لك
words
أراه
and says,
حكيما
"This is my
بليغا
opinion, do as you see
عتبة
fit."
بن
Well,
ربيعة
Utbah ibn
لما
Rabia in this
يمسك هذا
situation at
الكلام
Badr will
النص
do the
الكريم
same thing. He will say, "O
يا
people
معشر
of
قريش
Quraysh, support me," and say,
اعصبوها برأسي وقولوا جبن عتبة احنا دلوقتي هنرجع واول ما حد يقول لكم رجعت
Utbah brought
ليه
us, we will return
قولوا
now, and as
الراجل ده
soon
راجل
as
تعبان
someone might
ولسانه
ask you
ايه
why you came back, see,
عتبة
if that
عارف لو ما
cowardly,
كانش
pathetic
معانا
fellow, what's his
كنا
name again,
ضربناه
Adab, was
بالنار
with us,
يعني
if he hadn't been with us, we would have torn them
قولوا
to
جبن
pieces.
وعلى فكرة
So say he brought
أهمية
us. And, by the way, this
السيد
phrase is a
العربي
great and
السيد
powerful word to
العربي
the
هو
Arab
اللي
master. We're just living in a
السياسة
time
اللي
where
دلوقتي الناس بتلحس كلامها فيه عادي الكلام ده ما كانش موجود
people go back
زمان
on their words like it's nothing.
احنا
This kind of
ذكرنا
talk
انه
didn't exist
زمان الناس
back
كانت
then. We
تموت
mentioned that in
لاجل
the
كلمة
past people would die for a
قالتها
word they said, and there are stories from the
والنظام
pre-Islamic era
الجاهلي
about
لهذا
this. There are so
الكلام
many stories, I won't go into
ضربت
too much
أعجميا
detail, but I want
يقول
to
بها
tell you that when you find an
تخيل لما
Arab
تجد
master
سيدا عربيا يقول اعصبوها بي وقولوا جبن عتبة اعرف ان هو كان
saying,
يعاني
"Bind them with
معاناة
me," and
شديدة
say, "Ataba brought us," know that he was suffering immensely. So who comes up with our friend again? Oh, he says Abu Jahl. No, no, by God, it wasn't Ataba ibn Rabia who said that,
يقول أبو
but
جهل لا يا جماعة لا 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 والله ما بعتبة بن ربيعة ما قال ولكنه شوف برضو الذكاء
look at the
ولكنه رأى
intelligence. He saw his
ولديه
son among the Muslims and feared
المسلمين
we would kill him with our swords.
فخشي
His
أن
son was
يصيبه
Abu
بسيفه
Hudhayfa ibn Ataba ibn Rabia. Abu Hudhayfa
ولده
was
اللي
one
هو
of the
أبو
first to
حذيفة بن
embrace
أسد بن
Islam, and
ربيعة
he
أبو
was,
حذيفة هذا
indeed,
من
present in.
الأوائل من
What does
أسلم
the word army of
وكان
Muslims
يقود
mean?
جيش المسلمين يعني إيه الكلمة دي اوعوا تفتكروا عتبة ده بيتكلم لمصلحة قريش
Don't think that
ولا
Utbah is
للمصلحة
speaking for
العليا
the
للوطن
benefit of the Quraysh or for the
ده
higher
هو
interest
عنده
of
مصلحة
the nation.
شخصية
Utbah has a
عنده
personal
أغراض
interest. He
خاصة
has special
إيه الأغراض
purposes.
الخاصة
What are
دي
these special
هنتكلم عنها
purposes?
دي
He was
في
afraid,
مصلحة
for his
قريش
son, that they would kill him soon. How
طيب
could
في
such a
بيت
statement be
العز
made by a
درجة
man of
قائما
high standing? This is what he meant
والله
by this pride, this sense of honor, this
هذه
loyalty to his
اللحظة
tribe. He
وهذه
said,
اللحظة
you will know, you who are
ما
like a
بحب
yellow-faced man." This is an ugly
غلس
statement, this
الأحلام
statement, my
عند مصفرسته من الرجل هذه كلمة قبيحة يعني تمام
Friends was taken from Utbah ibn Rabia, who was supposed to be the first to go out to fight along with his brother Shayba ibn Rabia and his son, Al-Walid ibn Utbah.
شيبة بن ربيعة وابنه الوليد بن عتبة.
Therefore our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us a golden lesson. If we don't learn it, we will surely be doomed. It is the saying of God Almighty, or the saying of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Let none of you be like one who says, if people do good, and if they do evil, rather. Train yourselves, and look at the weight of the words on the tongue. Train yourselves that if people do good, you will do good, and if they do evil, you will avoid.
أنفسكم إن أحسن الناس أن تحسنوا وإن أساءوا أن تجتنبوا إساءتهم.
They're evil. Well, Utbah ibn Rabia went to hell because of this verse. The river that was with him was, because Utbah ibn Rabia was the first to engage in combat. Now, regarding the combatants, the words of God, blessed and exalted is he, were revealed. These two are adversaries who disputed concerning their Lord. This verse was revealed concerning 6 men from Quraysh: Utbah ibn Rabia, his brother Shayba ibn Rabia, his son Al-Walid ibn Utbah, along with those who went out with them, led by Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib, and Ubaydah ibn al-Harith. These two are adversaries who disputed concerning their Lord. As for those who disbelieve, garments of fire will be cut out for them. Boiling water will be poured over their heads, melting what is in their bellies and their skins, and for them are maces of iron. Every time they try to get out of it, they will be returned to it, and it will be said, taste the punishment of the burning fire. This refers to Abu Jahl and the one who listened to Abu Jahl's words. As for the believers, God will admit those who believe and do righteous deeds to gardens beneath which rivers flow. They will be adorned therein with bracelets and pearls, and their garments therein will be of silk, and they were guided to good speech, meaning they were guided to the statement, there is no God but God, and they were guided to the path of the foolish. So the Quraysh resolved to fight, and the two armies lined up. What did Abu Jahl say? This is also a dangerous statement with a dangerous lesson. Before the battle began, Abu Jahl called out, "O God, cut us off from kinship ties and brought us what we do not know, so we will be the lunch." We mean defeat him, kill him, we will be the lunch. So what is this? Did Abu
أبو جهل كان يظن في نفسه أنه
Jahl think that he was closer to kinship ties than the messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace? Or did Abu Jahl think that he was closer to God than the messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him?
وفي رواية أن أبا جهل يقول اللهم أحب الفريقين إليك وأرضاه عندك فانصره.
Peace, I mean Abu Jahl, and in another narration Abu Jahl said, O God, whichever of the two parties is more beloved to you and more pleasing to you, then grant him victory. Here you see a model. Of course, people differ in their evaluation of it. Some people say that falsehood, if it clouds the heart and makes it heavy, and the heart becomes corrupted, makes it see good as evil and evil as good. You know the hadith about the spread of trials and tribulations on the heart, like the spreading of a mat strand by strand. Any heart that denies it will have a white spot placed on it, and any heart that drinks it will have a black spot placed on it until it becomes two hearts, one white like pure marble, which no trial can harm as long as the heavens and the earth endure, and one black and dusty like an overturned jug, which does not recognize good nor reject evil except what it has absorbed from its desires. This is an explanation of the interpretation that when a person sees falsehood accumulated, God, blessed and exalted is he, reassures his heart until he thinks that he is on the right path. There are some verses and hadiths about this, including his saying, and we will turn there.
ومنها قوله تعالى ختم الله على
hearts and
قلوبهم
their eyes away
وأفهمهم
just as they did
وعلى
not believe in it
أبصارهم
the first
غشاوة
time, and we will leave them in their transgression wandering blindly.
وبعض
And
الناس
is saying, God has set a seal
يحبون
upon their hearts and
الأفلام
upon their hearing, and over their eyes is a veil. And some people say that
يعني
this is the
أحيانا
extent of
أنت عارف إنك
hypocrisy.
كذاب
I mean, sometimes you know that you are a
فبتترك
liar and that
الحق
you are
ليه
wrong, and in the end,
يا هامان ابن لي صرحا لعلي أبلغ
what
الأسباب
do you
وأبلغ
say, O
السماوات
Haman, build
فأطلع
me a
إلى
tower
إله
so that I
موسى
may reach the
فإني
means,
أظنه
the
كاذبا
means to the heavens, and look upon the God
بيقول
of
إيه
Moses, and
مع
indeed I think he is a liar, or you say, I know of no God for you other than me. I am your Lord Most
إني
High,
أخاف أن
indeed I fear
يبدل
that he will
دينكم
change
ويظهر في
your
الأرض
religion, or that he will cause
الفساد
corruption in the
هو
land.
عارف إنه
He
لا إله ولا يا رب ولا حاجة بس إيه
knows
ضرورات
that there is no
المنصب
God, no Lord, nothing
وضرورات
but what are
المصلحة
the necessities of the position and the necessities of the
حسب
interest. I
نموذج
mean, we have a wonderful
رئيس
example, the
رئيس
example of President
أمريكا
Abdel Fattah. This is a man who swears
رجل
falsely by God as easily as
يكذب
he
كذبا كما
breathes, as
حلف
easily as he breathes, and he has no
ولا يرى
problems.
في
I mean, he
الأمر ما فيش
has no
مشاكل يعني
problems.
هو
He
ما عندوش
tells you, look,
مشاكل
if God were.
يقول لك شوف لولا ان ربنا راضي عننا ما كناش حققنا النجاحات اللي احنا
Pleased
عملناها
with
دي
us, we wouldn't have achieved the
فين النجاحات دي
successes we've
كلها
made.
عشان
Where are
هو
these
ايه
successes? You don't know, but
ليه
why? Because
لان
God does
الله
not set right the
سبحانه
work of the
وتعالى
corrupt.
والله
And God, I mean, there is a state
يعني
of confusion.
انت
The
لو
man, I
وثقت
mean, he is
هذه
outside, I mean, the
خلاص هو
necessities of
واثق
the
هذه
position, he has to be
غير
confident in the position
ضرورات
he is
الامر
taking, I mean,
يبقى
for.
واثق من من الموقف اللي هو بيعمله يعني مثلا ففهمناها سليمان يا عم الحاج ده انت واخد البلد
Example, we
وماشي
understand it, Solomon, O old
فهمناها
man,
سليمان
you
ازاي
took the
يعني
country and the
فين
country was
فين
ruined. We
الفهم
understand it,
العام
Solomon. How? I
بس
mean, where is the strange
الرسول
understanding that you have?
يوسف
What isn't just
فهمنا
that,
يعني
but God created me a
الخلاصة ان
doctor,
بعض
so
الشخصيات
describe it.
ايه
The point is, some people don't
لا يستنكروا
hesitate,
لا
they don't
يستنكروا لا
hesitate, they aren't
يستنكروا لا
ashamed, they aren't
يستنكروا
embarrassed to swear
أن
falsely by
تقسم
God about the
بالله
lie they
كذبا على
know.
الكذب
A few
الذي
days ago, I
يعلمونه
saw an Egyptian broadcaster saying,
لأقسم
By your might
بالله
and glory, O
أقسم
Lord, I'm saying this for
يقول وعزتك وجلالك يا رب أنا بقول الكلام ده لوجه الله
God's sake, and he
وأنا
knows, and everyone knows that he's saying this for the
عنده
sake of the
العزة
authorities, frankly.
لوجه
But he has the
السلطان
audacity to swear this in
عنده
front
من
of people,
الجرأة
saying, By your
يقسم
might and
بالله
glory, O
أمام
Lord. What
الناس
is this?
يقول
There are people
وعزتك
like that, I
وجلالك يا
mean,
رب
there are people like that.
إيه ده ففي ناس كده يعني في ناس كده على كل حال المهم ان ابو جهل في غزوة بدر كان فاكر ايه
Anyway, what was
وكان
Abu
بيقول
Jahl
ايه بقى
thinking or
فاكر كان
saying
بيقول
during the
ايه
Battle of Badr?
كان بيقول
Whether
اللهم
he
اقطعنا
remembered or
اللهم
not, he
اتنا
was
بما لا
saying, O
نعرف
God, sever our ties
فاحرز
of
الغداة
kinship and bring us what we
اللهم
do.
احب
Not
الفريقين
know, so
اليك
make us the
وارضاهم
enemy.
لك
O God,
فانصرهم
choose the group that is most beloved to you and most pleasing to you, and grant them victory. Yes, of course, it's a scene you
بمعنى
keep contemplating,
انك
and
تظل
after
تتأمل
contemplating it, you realize that
أمام
the
أمام
Prophet's
أمام
biography is a
أمام
role model
الحق
for us.
كلنا يعني
The
السيرة
Prophet's
النبوية
biography opens a window for us onto the
الحق
life we are
الذي نعيشه
living.
الآن
Now, this tells us how
تصوروا
souls can reach
كيف
such an
تملك
extent of
النفوس من الباطل مثل هذا المبلغ طيب جميل نسيب دلوقتي موقف
falsehood. Okay,
الملحدين
let's
ونروح
leave the
نفكر
camp of the polytheists for now and go to the camp of the believers. We
دلوقتي قلنا
said that
ان
we
ربنا
left
سيدنا
them when they were
ابراهيم ايه
surprised to
دلوقتي
find that
برضه
Abu Sufyan wasn't there, but rather Abu
ابراهيم ابو
Jahl,
سفيان
Utbah ibn Rabia, and Sheba
ابو
ibn
جهل
Rabia. So the
وربيعه ابن
Prophet, peace
ربيعه
and blessings be upon him, gathered
فجمع
his
النبي صلى
companions
الله عليه وسلم اصحابه للمشاوره
for consultation. He
يشير
said,
عليهم
Advise me, O
طبعا
people. And of course, it's
من
a
الكلام المشهور
well-known
الذي
saying which we
يقوله
won't dwell on now,
عن
that if the
النبي صلى
Prophet,
الله عليه
peace
وسلم
and
لو كان
blessings be upon him,
انسانا
were a person who could do without
هو
consultation, it would have been the
يصلح ان
messenger
يشرع
of
لكان
God,
محمد
because the messenger of
هو
God is
هو
connected to
لان الاصلاح
heaven.
موصول
Meaning, if anyone in this world could do
فما
without
يعني لو في حد في هذه الدنيا يستغني عن مشورة الناس لكان أولى الناس بذلك رسول الله
people's
لكن
advice, it would have been the
رسول
messenger
الله
of
صلى الله عليه
God.
وسلم
But the messenger
يشير
of
أن
God,
سيدنا
peace
أبو
and
بكر
blessings be
وأصحابه
upon him, was the one who
طيب ليه معنى
consulted
النبي
his
صلى الله عليه وسلم
companions the
وجمع
most.
أصحابه
So the
أشيروا
Prophet,
علي
peace and
أيها
blessings be upon him, gathered his companions and said, Advise me, O
فتقدم أبو
people.
بكر
Then Abu Bakr
فقال
spoke and gave
وعظني
excellent
والرواية ما قالتش أبو بكر قال إيه
advice. The narration doesn't say what Abu
أشيروا
Bakr
علي أيها
said.
الناس
Advise me, O
فقام عمر
people. Then
فتكلم
Umar stood up and
قال
spoke and
وعظني
gave
وبرضه
excellent
الرواية ما
advice.
قالتش
Again, the
أمر
narration
الناس
doesn't say what Umar said.
أشيروا علي
Advise me,
أيها
O
الناس
people. Then Miqdad stood up.
فقام
Ibn Amr or
المقداد
al-Miqdad ibn al-Aswad,
المقداد
they are
بن
one and
عمرو
the
أو
same.
المقداد بن
His
الأسود
name
أي
is
اسمه
al-Miqdad ibn Amr,
هو
but
اسمه المقداد بن عمرو لكن تبناه رجل اسمه الأسود فنسب إليه المقداد فكان
he was
يقال المقداد
adopted
بن
by a
عمرو
man named al-Aswad, so he was attributed to
وأبو
him as
سفيان
al-Miqdad. So it was said,
فلما
al-Miqdad is from
الرواية هنا ذكر
al-Aswad.
إيه
Okay, Al-Miqdad stood up. The narration here mentions what Al-Miqdad said. What did Al-Miqdad say? The narration mentions it. Does anyone?
قال يا رسول الله امض لما أمرك الله.
No, he said, O messenger of God, proceed as God has commanded you. By God, we will not say to you as the children of Israel said to Moses, go you and your Lord and fight while we sit here, but we will say to you, go you and your Lord and fight, for we will fight alongside you.
سيدنا عبد الله بن مسعود راوي الحديث عند البخاري يقول فأشرق وجه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Our master Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the narrator of the hadith in Bukhari, says, the Prophet's face, peace and blessings be upon him, shone because of that. Our master Abdullah ibn Mas'ud at the beginning of the hadith says, I witnessed a stance by al-Miqdad that I would not exchange for anything equal to it, meaning I would not exchange anything else for it. Okay, and yet the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, advise me, O people. So here our master Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, the leader of the Ansar, Abu Bakr spoke and spoke well, Umar spoke and spoke well, and al-Miqdad said something beautiful. It was so beautiful that the narrator of the hadith, he took note of what Abu Bakr and Umar said. He took note of the great example al-Miqdad gave when he said, you mean us, O messenger of God? He said, yes. Look here, you see in the hearts of the Ansar an open sacrifice, a blank check for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, who was sitting silently, not realizing that the Prophet was speaking to him. He spoke meaning, and in the end he realized meaning. He spoke to us, the Ansar. No, the Ansar are a different matter, my brothers. The Ansar are a different matter. That is why the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, what is faith? Love for the Ansar. It is impossible for a believer not to love the Ansar and not feel a special feeling towards them. These people supported the religion without any reward beforehand and without any question. Here is our master Sa'd ibn Mu'adh saying to you, it is as if you mean us, O messenger of God. This matter is almost about us. He said, yes. So Sa'd ibn Mu'adh said, proceed, O messenger of God, as God has commanded you. By God, if you were to lead us across the sea, lead us across the sea, meaning if you were to put us into the sea, lead us across means to stand with the sea across your side. Lead us across the sea means to stand with the sea across your side. Lead us across the sea means to cross it. With you, not a single man among us would hold back. I am patient in war, truthful in battle, and perhaps God will show you from us what will gladden your heart. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, rejoice, for by God my Lord has promised me one of the groups. Of course. Pausing at the words of al-Miqdad and the words of our master Sa'd ibn Mu'adh requires much discussion, but truly I advise myself and I advise you all. In any case, I was saying that the words of al-Miqdad and the words of Sa'd ibn Mu'adh require reflection. In any case, our master Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, with the change in the situation, said, O messenger of God, I suggest to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that a shelter be built for the Prophet behind the army, like an operations room or command post, an operations room behind the army. If there is victory, then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, will not be harmed, and if there is no victory, then sit on your mount and return to Medina, for behind you are people who love you no more than we do. We are not ready now, we have not gone out to fight. Our numbers are small and defeat is very likely. When defeat occurs, we have not thrown down our full force, so this leadership should be maintained and remain. At one stage of the withdrawal to the city, there were soldiers like those who had fallen, defending the messenger of God, peace and blessings be upon him. We previously discussed the importance of preserving leadership, emphasizing that a leader is irreplaceable and not easily replaced. The notion that, if a leader dies, 1,000 more will rise in his place is a myth. Leadership is inherently rare and one of the most important priorities for any movement, cause, idea, message, state, party, or group is to safeguard its leadership. The preservation of leadership is paramount. There is a
القيادة بقاؤها
vast difference between arresting or
عن
killing it.
إبطالها.
Furthermore, our Master Ali, may God be pleased with him, narrates another account in the Musnad with a sound chain of transmission from
يروي رواية أخرى في المسند بإسناد حسن عند الإمام أحمد، يقول ذكرت لكم صدرها لما
Imam Ahmad. He said,
وقد
I
روي
mentioned its
يوم
beginning to
الفتح
you,
فينا
when he
في
said, I saw us on the day of Badr and there was no horseman among us, except Miqdad. The messenger of God, peace and blessings be upon him, was the closest of us to the enemy on the day of Badr. He also said, when the battle raged, we sought
كنا إذا حمي الوطيس احتمينا برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. تمام.
refuge with the messenger of God, peace and
احنا
blessings be
بنتكلم عن
upon
انه
him.
سيدنا
Now
سيد
we are
الحرب
discussing how our
لازم
master
يبقى في ايه
Saad
وقفة
suggested that there should be a line of retreat after that. Our
نبينا صلى
prophet,
الله
peace
عليه
and blessings
وسلم
be upon him, began here, in
تمام
arranging the ranks. The banner, meaning the general command, was carried by our master Musab ibn Umair, the banner of
طيب نستكمل إن شاء الله في
the
المجلس
Muhajirin. We will continue, God willing, in the next session. We ask God, the blessed and exalted, to teach us what benefits us, to make what he has taught us beneficial, and to increase us in knowledge. Peace, mercy and blessings of God be upon you. Revive